Hi, and welcome to tonight's Cigar Professor. As you can see, I am in charge of it tonight, as usual, and seems to be becoming a bit of a pattern. Topher has messaged me with all these wah, 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 whingy, 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 cry, cry, cry excuses. And Omar, as usual, I think is just going to be on Omar time and be very late to the show. Seems to be a bit of a regular habit for him, but I see that we've got people already joined in tonight. Hi, Stu. Welcome to tonight's show, and thanks for joining us. And yes, Daniel, Topher is late again. So what can I say? His heart's just not in it anymore. He wants to make out that he's a cigar aficionado and likes to think that he smokes lots of cigars, but the one time he has to just smoke a cigar and do nothing else, well, you know, what can I say? His track record is leaving a long story. So anyway. Stu, I don't know what you mean by that. But anyway, let's get on with tonight's show. Tonight we are smoking the Perdomo Lot 23 Gordito in the Connecticut wrapper. Now, we smoked this cigar back on the 26th of February 2021. And it was in our very first pack. That's how long ago it was. That's amazing. So 22 packs ago. Wow, that time has definitely gone fast. Now, this cigar isn't from the original batch that we bought, although I think there are probably still a few floating around in our humidor from that very first batch, but there definitely was not enough of that batch left to put enough into all the packs that were getting shipped out. So this is a more recent batch. Now, obviously, speaking about people when they're not here causes their ears to burn, and clearly that's been the case. And Topher's done whatever he's done. And hi, welcome to the show.
Listen. You should know better than to talk smack about me behind my back or in front of my face, for that matter. I will say that any Mac versus PC jokes delivered tonight will not be appreciated. Will not be appreciated at all, because I have spent genuinely, and Prof Damo, you can verify this, I messaged you an hour ago, literally, saying I'm having technical difficulties. Yes. Well, it hasn't been easy peasy lemon squeezy. It has been difficult, kumquat difficult. That has been my last hour. I have steam coming out of my ears, and as you can see by the fact that I'm using my crappy laptop camera rather than my lovely expensive one over there, I lost. And the computer gremlins won, and to this moment in time, I still don't know why, and I'm really mad about it.
It's probably a driver conflict with some update that's happened in the background, and lo and behold,
don't even get me started. I have done so many updates. I had my computer so confused about its own identity that it went into limp mode, where it thought it was no longer a PC. It was like, I need to repair myself. I'm like, no, you don't. You just need to sort your shit out and show me the camera that I've got plugged into you. I kid you not, I updated the Rode. So I go through a thing called a Rodecaster video. That's the desk that kind of the camera goes into, and then the signal comes out of that into my computer. I updated the Rode software, and I'm not making this up. The Rode software, I do the update because it tells me, oh, I want the update. I do the update, and it then tells me after the update, I'm not compatible with the Rodecaster video. Why didn't you tell me that before? Why didn't you tell me before I did the update that if I have a Rodecaster video, I should not do the update? So I had to then go back, because I couldn't just roll it back to the previous version. I had to go back to the internet and find the Rodecaster video compatible version, reinstall that over the top of now this updated useless one, and then it asked me if I wanted to update. And I was, at that moment in time, ready to blow a gasket. I was ready to go a dozen rounds with Mike Tyson. I am so angry right now. So angry.
Yes. Yes, I think everybody who's on watching tonight can definitely sympathise with you because those computer gremlins get us all at some point in time.
I will say though, if I am having to control my emotions and calm myself down and achieve a state of zen, this is a pretty damn good way to do it. You've picked a good cigar for a night when I'm having technical difficulties.
Yes, a nice girthy cigar.
Oh yes, get a bit of girth into you. That's I won't say who says that. Obviously, no one in any way related to me.
Now the other thing was there was a little present in this pack. Now you got two presents.
I did.
Everybody got one of the same presents, but you got a little extra.
Well, the extra, I suspect, was the coffee.
That's correct.
Which I've still not tasted because I was actually, I saw it and I'm like, oh, that'll be amazing. I'll save that for when I have the cigars with the cigar professor. And then I pulled it out tonight at about 6 o'clock, starting to get ready. And I went, you idiot, if you have coffee at 6 o'clock at night, you will not sleep tonight. So what are you thinking? So I still haven't actually had any. I do appreciate the gift, but I actually haven't tasted it. I will have it as my coffee tomorrow morning, but I do have this.
Yes.
Nice and handy.
Yes. I made 2 different chocolates. I made some more of my 100%, and then I made some of a 70% dark chocolate, which is sweetened with maple sugar. So maple syrup that's basically been boiled down till it's dry.
Can I be honest?
Same chocolate in both.
I can barely see the color difference. I think I can see the color difference, but I'm not actually 100% sure.
You remember I was telling you I was worried about the blooming problem because of the humidity?
Yes. Yes.
The one that actually has a little bit more bloom on it is the or the sort of the matte
a little bit more whiteness on it.
Yes, that's the 100, and the other one will be the 70.
I see.
Or you could just taste the difference. One will taste sweet, and the one won't.
Tell you what, we are the cigar professors after all, so we're supposed to be able to taste what we are tasting, so to speak, sort of thing.
Look, on the typical Omar time, speaking of whom, he has arrived.
What's going on, boys?
Damo, I thought I told you I am only coming on the show if Omar's not going to be here. I was clear about this. Gosh.
Mate, he's got to earn his keep with the cigars he gets for free.
You can't get good help these days. You gave me a pinky promise. You gave me Boy Scouts honor. It doesn't get any more serious than that.
Nah, that's pretty serious.
All right, the draw is perfect.
Mine's a little snug, but I'm not sure whether I want to take another cut on it just yet.
Beautiful fresh straw.
Bit of a barnyard on the foot. So I use since we are doing a Perdomo cigar, I am using a Perdomo Perfect Cutter, and I'll be using my Perdomo lighter. Oh, look, I just realized something horrendous. Bear with me 1 second. Bear with me 1 second. Where is it?
I don't know, Mr. Nick Perdomo, Mr. Professor Damo.
I have lost my Perdomo shirt. Hang on. Oh, there it is.
No.
I put it.
Wow, things must not have gone well with Nick when you caught up with him.
Oh, would have been terrible.
Must have gone very badly indeed if you've disowned the merch.
I know. Got to be doing the full Perdomo Monty, you know.
Well, I'm glad you're not doing just the full Monty.
Perdomo Army shirt.
There you go.
So, Perdomo cutter, Perdomo cigar, Perdomo lighter. Wow. I'm set. Can't say
I use my Perdomo cutter
behind the brand tonight.
I use my Perdomo cutter, but I did use a Cigar Professor lighter because, I know who butters my bread.
We all know that.
Oh, yeah. Yeah, that is a beautiful, beautiful, approachable, fresh, dry. Like it's fresh, but it doesn't have that sense of moist kind of wet grass. It's a beautiful dry hay, a dry barnyard. It's a clean barnyard is what it is, and it's lovely. That is beautiful.
So smooth, straight off the cuff.
Yeah. Yeah.
Very sweet.
There are not many cigars of this size, of this girth, that I would say are suitable for relative newcomers. But this would be up there. This would have to be something where if this, it wouldn't be your first choice for a newcomer. But if you had this, you wouldn't be afraid to give it to a newcomer just on the basis that it's not going to turn them green. It's not going to turn them off. It's not going to overpower them. It's just a beautiful, approachable, easy to smoke cigar.
There's a very sweety bitterness, but it's sweet. There's like a bitter thing in the end, but it's sweet.
Bitter in the aftertaste.
On the retro, there's almost like, those sweet coffee biscuits.
Yeah.
Sort of like those biscuits that have got a bit of a sugar and coffee note to them. Bit of that on the retro. Also a little bit of a floral note there on the retro as well.
I tell you what, it almost reminds me when those bitter almonds mixed into the cookies, that kind of thing. It's like a bitterness of almost of an almond, but it's sweet. That comes with the sweetness of the rest of the stuff. That's what it reminded me of.
All right, I'm going to say the 100% chocolate is a bit too overpowering for this cigar.
Yep.
That's a chocolate for a Maduro.
Yep. It might even work with the sun growing on a darker wrapper.
Yeah.
The 70% is a much better match. That's a good match.
Yeah.
All right, what are we drinking, fellas?
That's in coconut water.
Coconut water.
Yeah, roger that.
I have a black tea, but I also have a lemon yuzu drink as well.
So you know how you may not remember this because it's not like I made a big deal out of it or anything, but you remember how I gave you guys a hard time for drinking fizzy bin juice? Like it's not like I carried on about it for week after week after week after month after like for a year or more or anything like that. It's not like I was like accusing you guys of being girly men and of lacking testosterone and of being a disgrace to the male population. It's not like I did any of that. Of course I would never do that. But hypothetically, if I had done that, I'd really appreciate it if we could forget about that now.
We have.
Not because I'm drinking kombucha, I'm not. It's because I might be drinking something that even a kombucha drinker would call girly.
Well, you are girly, no matter what you do. You could jump on a horse, you're still going to be girly.
I'm follically challenged. I will grant I am follically challenged. That's true.
Yes. In other ways too. But yeah.
You can't have both brain cells and hair follicles on your head at the same time. It's got to be one or the other. I got the brain cells. I won't comment on what happened with you, Omar.
Yep. You have brain cells, right? You think you have brain cells.
Hey, I did an IQ test because I was worried, right? But it's all good. It came back negative. So I'm all good.
Definitely. You're very good.
Yeah.
That means you're qualified to be a politician.
100%. I'm heading to Canberra next week. This is beautiful. This cigar.
Yeah, it's beautiful. It's absolutely beautiful.
So easy to smoke.
Beautiful.
Well, the other interesting thing is too, I have actually trimmed down the video footage that I took of the interview with Nick Perdomo.
Ah.
And it goes for 20 minutes though.
Oh, goodness. Do you have a special guest for tonight?
Well, what I was wondering is, do we play it in one hit or do we play part and then play part another week?
I reckon play it until he says something that we feel like we want to comment on.
Okay.
And then let's just see if we end up with time for more today or whether it goes into next month.
Alrighty. Shall we do that now?
Why not?
Let's see if I can drive this thing.
I'm excited.
Hi, Nick. Thank you so much for spending the time with us today.
Thank you.
We've got some questions that our viewers to our channel have asked me if I had the opportunity to meet with you in person.
Sure.
And we've watched a lot of the videos that you've already put onto YouTube over the years, and we've tried to come up with some questions that we think haven't been covered, but questions that will sort of show us more of who you are and the Perdomo brand. So the first question I'd like to ask off the bat is, do you remember the first cigar you ever had?
Yeah, I was a little boy. You got to remember, I come from a Cuban culture. We smoked very young. My grandfather would be playing dominoes, and you play in a clockwise position. Every time he looked to the left, every table had the cigars sitting. You had a little concave area, and I remember grabbing the cigars and puffing on them. I must have been 4 or 5 years old. And after around the third go around, I'd get sick. I'd go run to the backyard and I'd throw up. But I always got back on the horse. So I think that was the first time I smoked a cigar. Probably.
That's hilarious.
So that's probably like a deep memory of your first cigar. But thinking back over all the cigars that you had, what would you say is the most memorable cigar experience that you've had in your life? That one that sort of burnt into the depths of your mind that you just always refer back to?
It's really not one, it's multiples. I never had a bad cigar smoker with my dad and my grandfather. They were some of the most memorable periods of my life. And the same thing with my son. You know, cigar smoking is enjoyable. Unfortunately, a lot of governments make it out to be, you know, you have edible mushrooms and you have poisonous mushrooms. You can't lump everybody in the same thing. Cigars are celebratory and they're enjoyable. Average cigar smoker smokes 2 cigars a month in the United States. There's study after study of bringing down blood pressure, relaxation, and so on and so on. And because of that, I think the most enjoyable periods I've had really were just sitting with my dad, my grandfather, and my son. I can guarantee you they were the best experiences of my life. You can imagine. I've been in the industry for over 3 decades and smoked tons of cigars. And at my age, to find the most memorable period is really difficult. But I've also been blessed because I've been in the industry so long that I've had a lot of great memories, and those memories were really enjoying cigars with all the Perdomo men. And even to this day, I really enjoy a cigar on my balcony with my wife, Janine.
So given that you've got that sort of eclectic collection of memories of great cigar, what are the key attributes? What do you think is that holy grail that makes a fantastic cigar moment? What is it about each of those moments that you've had that really have created that memory for you?
Well, it's a couple tier thing. First of all, it's wonderful company.
Yeah.
Because cigars are meant to savor, enjoy, and relax, right? So wonderful company is definitely the most important aspect. And then to have a fantastic cigar. And one of the things that we pride ourselves is our quality, and I believe that we make some of the best cigars and finest cigars in the world, regardless of price point. And I think our price points are really good. So I'm proud of that.
So I was watching some of the videos that you had regarding your process and your factory tours that you've got on your YouTube channel. And I'm just astounded that the amount of time that you put into fermenting and aging your tobacco, which I really haven't seen anyone else doing it to the same extent that you guys are doing it. But what that leads us to, our viewers to wonder is, with such a long process that it takes, 60 months or more, how do you actually get from an idea in your mind to a final production when even just the process of trying to manufacture to the final product takes so long? Like, is your R&D process of developing a new blend as long as it takes to manufacture the cigar as well?
No, but it takes up to 3 years for me to come out with a new brand. The reason is that you don't have to wait the full 5 to 6 years is because we have tremendous stocks of tobacco. We've been growing tobacco for 3 decades.
Mm-hmm.
We've always grown a lot more tobacco than our production schedules meet. And we've done that purposely for 2 reasons. One, for growth. And the second thing is to have great, well-aged, fantastic tasting tobacco for our consumers in the future, because you never know what you're going to be able to do, whether it be growth spurts and so on. It's all about consistency of product. And the reason that we have so much inventory of well-aged tobacco is, one, because of growth, because of maybe some new ideas that we can figure out new blends. But even with all that being said, it still takes us 2.5 years. I see some of these companies come out with a blend every day. I've never figured out how you do that. It takes me a long time. And when we make a dosage or a recipe of a blend, we really want it to be consistent. And we also take yield charts. We need to know how many cigars we'll be able to make that. And we have it so pinpoint that we actually do it by lot numbers. So the consistency of the blend is actually identical each and every time. So the customer enjoys that particular cigar. The consistency is right there where it needs to be. Hence why Perdomo Reserve Champagne has been out for 23 years, Perdomo Habano 21 years, Lot 23, 25 years. I mean, most of my brands have been out for decades and continue growing. And I'm proud of that. And I'm proud that our people have done such a wonderful job of really constructing those cigars perfectly and also having the right blends.
Okay, can we pause there?
There's a lot of rules, certainly, in cigar making.
So, a couple of things really jumped out at me there. Number one, you're doing actually a really good job with the interview. So well done, you. Those are interesting questions, and I think you're doing a great job. That approach where growing more than you sell and then just consistently continuing to do that. And rather than saying, hang on, we need to flog off everything we've got. We're missing out on profit here. We just need to clear, we need to empty the inventory. Instead, just going, no. Let's just have it sit there. We'll find a use for this one day. That's a really, I don't even know what word I'm looking for. There's an integrity to that kind of approach to your product, where you're not looking to maximize
integrity and wisdom. It's integrity and wisdom combined.
I find that really, really interesting. Did you get to see much in the way of, I guess you weren't where they produce the cigars or anything, were you, Damo?
No, so I was just in their distribution warehouse in Miami, where they actually receive the containers from Nicaragua. But at that point, the product is already boxed, and the boxes are in
it's
cartons.
Yeah.
So,
no, that is really interesting to me, because that is both it's integrity, but it's also confidence to just say we can wear the cost, because let's not forget, everything comes at a cost. That's warehouse space, that's time of people, turning it over, and because fermenting it takes time. You've got to look after it. It's not a static product. It's got to be looked after. It's got to be rotated. It's got to be kept. There is a level of confidence that expresses that he has about his product, about his brand, about the future, where he can literally just sit there and go, that warehouse, we'll find a use for that one day, and it'll be worth it one day. That is a fascinating insight.
Absolutely. And that was the what I really picked up on my time with Nick was that he's definitely an astute businessman, and he's very much got his fingers across every aspect of the business. He's not one of these remote managers or, one of these guys that just sort of come in at the high-end corporate level and sort of manage everything below them without having any knowledge. He's one of the hands-on guys, and he's actually done every part of the process. He's been in the area putting seeds into seedling trays. He's planted plants. He's harvested tobacco. He's been involved in the fermenting and the rolling, and he actually got his son Nicholas, to go down to Nicaragua and actually wanted him to learn every part of the process.
Sure.
Because he's in this transition period at the moment where nothing was officially said to me, but I could see that there was this preparing Nicholas to step up and Nick to sort of start over the coming years to step back, and so there's a seamless transition, so that the company business continues to run. But Nicholas has basically been down to Nicaragua and done everything, and actually knows what it is to plant the seeds, to harvest, to ferment, to roll, to
And it's an unusually kind of personal thing being a cigar blender. I would suggest it's probably similar to being a winemaker. There's not or a whiskey maker. There's not a lot of professions in the world where your personal touch can't be replaced by a system, by a machine, by a calibration. You can't, you can cook McDonald's chips according to a calibration. You can't blend cigars according to a calibration. It's a different thing. And so when the brand is built around people that love the brand, but the brand now is Nick. We love Nick. Yeah. And to then have to hand that on, that's an incredibly challenging thing.
Well, the interesting thing is that a lot of the blends in the last decade, Nicholas has actually been involved with, and the Legacy series was all Nicholas's work as a tribute to Dad. And they're just releasing this year. It's just been announced in social media in the last few weeks. They're doing the Legacy Father and Son, which is going to be a limited edition. They're not sure how often they're going to release it, but it'll be a limited amount, and it might be released every year. It might not be every year. It might be every couple of years. But that's actually a collab between Nick and his son Nicholas. And that's going to get released for quarter four this year.
We're going to get some of those, aren't we?
I have already put in a request, and I was told that it would probably be not until October, November. Stock is limited, and priority is being given to brick and mortar retail stores in America beyond anyone else. So I am trying. But the other interesting thing is to try and keep it out of the reach of a lot of people. They're actually boxing it in lots of 50, which is deliberate for a retail display. So to bring in the Connecticut, and
a bunch of 50s.
You're looking at 156. So, and I'm not sure what Vitola they're putting them in either. They were talking about only having one Vitola size on it, which I think might be a torpedo. So we're talking
that could still be anything size-wise.
6. Yeah. So I'm just waiting till more information comes out, because it'll be coming out at the cigar convention in the next few months.
No pressure, but after what we know you did for Nick under that interview table, I would have thought that you should get some special treatment. Okay, I'm just saying.
Mate. I think I need to get Omar to negotiate that, because Nick was infatuated with Omar.
He's got the Midas touch.
That's it. It's beautiful.
It's stacking dimes. It's just perfect. It really is.
It's absolutely perfect. But so I could tell you one thing about Nick. Dame and I were talking about this video that he did. I'm like, what's wrong with this guy? So secondhand, it felt like he had a bit of ego sort of behavior about things. And when you meet him in person, he is super down to earth. He's very soft and kind. Well, he's in love with my beard. That's all he wanted to know. How do I look at this? What do I put in it and stuff like that? But now he's an amazing human. I have no doubt about that. I can see why Damo likes him.
Well, to be honest, that bit that we've watched already, I don't get ego from that.
Not at all.
No, he just seems to be really upfront. He loves what he does. He cares about the legacy and passing it on. And but also you've got to keep in mind, this guy's been asked how many questions about cigars, how many interviews has he done over the years. He's not hearing anything new. And so you have to kind of allow for him to be a little bit flat in his response. But no, I don't get ego from him at all. I think he seems just really sincere.
Yeah.
Cool guy.
Just tasting notes on the cigars, gents, while we're...
Look at this perfection in this stick. Seriously. Being outdoors.
Damo, you didn't even give him a defective one. You let him on the show, and then you gave him a good cigar. It's like you don't even care about me anymore.
It's definitely got a beautiful sweetness to the cigar at the moment. The foot smoke is one of our viewers. Who was it? Daniel has commented on the foot smoke.
Yeah. Beautiful cigar.
Mr. Stew thinks you're drinking milk.
Mr. Stew, excuse me.
Wow.
Milk and Bailey's.
Oh.
It's alcoholic milk, so it's better. All right, it's better.
Bailey's and milk. You remind me of an aged female who has lost about 10 pregnancies, and it's fucked.
Listen.
Fuck. Miscarriages. Have you heard of that? Tofar with miscarriages.
I can neither confirm nor deny whether I've run out of whiskey. But the fact that I'm not drinking whiskey might give you some indication of where I'm at.
Wow, that's heavy.
Mm-hmm.
Oh, what's with the specs, man?
So it turns out I'm getting really old really fast. Yeah. I was in perfect condition. I was the ultimate specimen of an adult human male until about 42 years of age.
There we go again.
In the 2 years since, I got to say, every single warning light is coming on the dash. It's just like the check engine light, check the headlights, check the eyeballs, check the rectum, like everything has come on. And I honestly, I got these about 6 months ago, and already I think I need to go back in for a new prescription. Like my eyes are, the way I'm going, I'll be blind in about 5 minutes.
Mm. Have you heard this sort of terminology, unrepairable write-off? That kind of reminds me of something like that. Just like that.
Yeah. I think my wife's putting me up to one of those auctions where they flog off the unrepairable write-offs for parts. I think she's got me going down to Pickles auctions down in Melbourne next month sometime.
Pickle it is.
She's hoping to get about $2,000 for me. I think she's being optimistic.
It's a lot of money, man.
Not even my kidneys. After how much I drank during COVID, not even my kidneys are worth anything.
Nah.
She might be just swapping you for some fuel.
Jerry can. Hey, look, I wouldn't be offended. If it was diesel, the diesel's worth more.
Diesel,
you know, if it was diesel, I wouldn't be offended.
Diesel. Let's not talk about diesel, man. It hurts every time someone talks about diesel. It hurts. It hurts.
It's bad.
I fill up my tank twice a week because I drive a lot. Obviously.
Yeah.
Oh, man.
Well, I've cancelled my trips to Melbourne. I'm not going to Melbourne. If I do go to Melbourne, it'll only be like once a month instead of once a week, and I'll take the train. I can't justify it. It's just too much money at the moment. And also, like, even if I could justify the money, it's like, well, that's not an important use of a tank of diesel. Nah. You know, like, okay, 60 liters of diesel isn't going to change the world, but if lots of us do that, then that's going to make a difference. Like, we need our farmers to get diesel, for crying out loud. Like, I've got farmers literally 30, 40, 50 kilometers away from me who can't get diesel right now. Yeah. And I'm sorry, but I think they happen to be more important than my podcast and whether or not it's in person or whether it's over the internet. So, so I'm doing what little I can, and I know others are as well. But it just feels like the government's not really doing much of what it can.
No.
Has the government been ever able to do anything?
Never.
Well, here's the thing. People are mad that the government didn't keep a deeper strategic reserve. That's the wrong problem. We should be mad that the government destroyed our local refining industry by making it not financially viable. They say, oh, they closed because they weren't competitive. They weren't financially viable anymore. Yes, they weren't financially viable because the government put onto them heaps of red tape and heaps of green tape and environmental standards and this and that all of our competitors internationally do not have to comply with. Yep. So overall, the overall amount of emissions of whatever kind it is that you're worried about is the same, because in Singapore, they don't give a rat's. They're emitting all that stuff. But because we wouldn't allow ourselves to emit it here, we had to close down those refineries. And then they have the gall to say, oh, no, the government didn't close them down. They closed down because they weren't economically viable anymore. That's absolute nonsense.
Mm.
Yeah, well, I live right near where the Kurnell refinery in Sydney was. And I remember it as a kid. You'd go down to the area, and you could see the flames. The
Yep.
what do they call them? Where they're burning off the
Out of those stacks.
yeah, and it'd be a nice glow on the headland there, and a lot of fuel. Actually, there used to be a petrol station out there that I think was directly piped into the bulk storage tanks out there.
Oh,
so
wow.
they didn't. Yeah, it was right on the fence line of the refinery. There was this little service station. A lot of trucks used to go out there and fill up. I think they used to get a cheaper rate out there, but even that's gone.
Well, the Coode Island used to be visible. You'd go up on the Westgate Bridge, and you'd not quite be going over Coode Island, but you'd be going really close to it. All the big silos, and I'm sure I can remember as a kid crossing the Westgate Bridge and seeing the flames on the top of those towers. I'm sure that used to happen, even in Melbourne. And then I don't know, there was a fire there many years ago, and I don't know whether that contributed to the shutdown or not. But over time, we've stopped thinking about what happens if something goes wrong, and we're only thinking about how do we maximize when everything's going right. And that's just not how it works. I don't think
they're thinking about that. I think it's more, how do we get elected at the next election?
Well, yeah, there's that.
That's about all they're thinking.
Yeah. So, Stu, there's a really interesting thing here about the markup. So, yeah, Australia's prices have gone up a lot more than most other countries. That's because we don't have domestic supply when most other countries have more. The US has more domestic supply relative to their consumption than we do. Singapore, people are like, oh, Singapore's only gone up 16%. Yeah, because they are the refiners, like they are the ones, right? So here's the thing. If our supply's gone down, let's say 20%, I don't know exactly what it is, but if our supply's gone down 20%, that doesn't mean prices go up 20%. It means prices go up until consumption goes down by 20%.
Yeah.
Now, with something like fuel, our demand is relatively inelastic. Miners are not going to stop using it. Farmers don't want to stop using it. Trucking companies, for as long as there's people that want something transported, they want to keep using it. So the price can't just go up by 20%. It's got to double. It's got to triple before people start to refuse contracts and say, nah, it's not worth it. I'm not going to do that job anymore. So unfortunately, I released a video on this today. I think prices actually need to go higher. And people are saying, oh, we need to temporarily suspend the fuel excise. Well, I'd love to permanently get rid of the fuel excise. I don't think it's a good tax at all. But to temporarily get rid of it right now when prices are high in order to ease the cost of petrol, that's actually counterproductive, because the whole reason we have high prices is to try and suppress consumption so that we no longer have a shortage. If you get rid of the fuel excise now, you make it more attractive for people to burn more, and the shortage gets worse. So unfortunately, we kind of just have to ride this one out and let the prices get as high as they need to get for us to stop using so much.
Yeah. Where do you reckon it will end up at?
Oh, gosh. Look, it's really hard to say. I've already made one prediction that was completely wrong. When Trump came out saying that he was going to provide insurance for ships passing through the Straits of Hormuz and physical security for ships passing through Hormuz, I went, okay, that sounds like that's going to get the ships moving again. And then there was a Greek-flagged ship, the Shenlong, went through the Straits, and I went, all right, this will be the trigger. This will be what gets everyone else going through, and that clearly wasn't. So I'm not going to make any more predictions. I've already been spectacularly wrong with my first one. It is interesting at the moment. The UK have just come out and said that they will lead a coalition of mostly European countries plus Japan to go and secure the Straits of Hormuz. But the reality is the UK, Germany, France, Japan, they can't do that. It has to be America that secures it. And then these other countries can patrol. They can help to maintain the security. But honestly, they don't have the military capacity to actually guarantee the safety of tankers passing through the Straits of Hormuz at the moment. So it's kind of like, it's like a gang of 7-year-olds being all brave and marching out there to face the bully, but only because one of them's got their 16-year-old older brother right there with them, right? Yeah. That's it. It's the 16-year-old older brother that's really actually going to be able to do the work, and the others are like, oh yeah, let's go, let's come along. How soon will that happen? Gosh, it's going to be at least another 3 or 4 weeks, I would say, because the ships have got to get there in the first place. I think we're in for a lot more hurt for some months. And unfortunately, it's going to be long enough that it will translate from a fuel shortage into a food shortage. I think we are not that we're going to be starving. We're not going to be Venezuela. But I think we are going to be substituting. We're going to be not being able to buy the thing that we want and having to buy something else because that's what's available.
Yep. I saw, was it last week? I thought that Saudi Arabia commissioned their pipeline across the country.
Yeah, which helps, but that's only a fraction. That's only a fraction of the overall supply that used to go through the Straits. So it all helps. The US are flogging off, I think, 30 million barrels of Venezuelan oil. That'll help. They're strong-arming the EU into getting a bunch of LNG from them rather than from Russia. That'll help. It'll all help. But fundamentally, we need all of that Saudi oil, all of that Iranian oil, all of that Kuwaiti and Iraqi oil going back through the Straits. That's what we need.
Yeah.
So Mr. Stu makes a good point here. They're still cheaper than beer. Thing is, I don't usually drink 50, 60 liters of beer in a day. Not often. A couple of times a month at the most. Whereas it's very easy to go through 50, 60 liters of fuel in a day, as you know, because you drive a Ford Ranger with a whole bunch of tools on the top that absolutely destroy its aerodynamic efficiency down the freeway. So, yeah, it's cheaper than beer, but we use a lot more of it.
I just dropped.
Of course.
User error.
Yep, definitely user error.
Stu reckons there's a flavor change. Oh, no.
Let me find out.
Damn it. We weren't doing the Ash Challenge today anyway. I mean, we were if I'd have won, but now that I've not won, we're not.
So the flavor change for me at that ash drop, that floral note has come back a little bit on the retro. I got a little bit of a vegetative note on the palate.
I can't speak for yourself, guys. I've got ash, so it's very good.
You notice it's
well
the same
played.
color as his beard? Like when he holds it in front of his beard, you can't actually see where the ash is and the beard is.
Well,
Yeah,
that's why we think he's winning the Ash Challenge. It's actually just a piece of his beard that he's grabbed and kind of stuffed in there, you know? Shall we play a bit more of the interview?
Yeah, why not? Let me see if I can master this skill. Different rules for how to construct a good cigar. Have you ever come across a situation where you've had a cigar that's broken the rules but still been a phenomenal cigar to your surprise?
No, because there's only one way to do things, and it's to do them right. So we're real cognizant about that. Every cigar is draw tested. Every cigar is intubed. We don't deviate at all. You know, the foot's always on the gas. We never let off, regardless if it's a bundle product or Perdomo Legacy. Everything is made to the strictest standards because we believe our consumers deserve that. My father always said it takes 10 years to get a customer. It takes 3 seconds to lose one, so don't lose one.
Yeah.
And I've always been very cognizant about that. And I'm also proud of my workforce. They've been around for decades with me. We're going into second and third generations now. And I think that leads to our consistency. We win, our consumers win, and our retailers win because of that.
One of the other things that there's a lot of division in the cigar community is about aging cigars. And I know that your cigars have already come out with age on them. I must admit that I'm one that tends to enjoy tasting cigars over further years of aging to see how they change and transition over that time. You personally, what would be the oldest age cigar that you've enjoyed and it's still been a good cigar?
A fantastic cigar factory does that work already. The reason that people are doing this is because the lack of quality of Cuban cigars and how dismal they've been. Or factories that don't do things right. But if you cure your tobacco perfectly, you ferment your tobacco perfectly, you age your tobacco successfully, you make great cigars, and you age them again for 6 months in cedar, most of those cigars, if they were done right, most of the ingredients in that cigar, the tobaccos in that cigar, are going to be at least 4 to 6 years old. How much more do you need? And here's what happens. When you sit there and you put them away, it's a waste of money for you. All what happens with the cigars, they become lighter and lighter and lighter because biochemically in the bunch, all the oils and resins start evaporating. That's why when you look at a cellophane tube and it's like a chocolate brown, that's all flavor that just dissipated through cellulose. What a waste that is. Now, if my personal opinion is if you have a cigar and it wasn't cured properly, it wasn't aged properly, it wasn't fermented properly, it wasn't constructed properly, and you age it for 2 years after you have it, you know what you have? You have a 2-year-old piece of shit. It doesn't really get any better. And a great factory makes sure that all those processes are done. These cigars are at their peak of flavor once they're completed. And that's what our customers deserve. I don't want a customer spending a ton of money on a box of Perdomo cigars and saying I have to hold them for 2 or 3 years or something like that. No, I want them to open that box. I want them to savor it with them, with their friends, their family, and enjoy them. That's why we do all that work. That's our responsibility. And factories that don't take that responsibility, shame on them.
I'm choosing to stop it there. Put my 2 cents in on this one, and Omar, you can definitely throw your 2 cents in on that one on this one as well. Yeah. And while I definitely agree with Nick, and particularly with the cigars that they make, I've never had a Perdomo cigar where I've got a fresh box, opened it, and smoked it, and it wasn't good. Like, that's one of the things that I love about the Perdomo brand is I get a fresh batch of cigars in. I can take one straight out of the box and really appreciate and enjoy the smoking of that. But something I have actually learned myself in the last, say, 4 to 6 months with my aging, there has been some cigars that I have been aging that have been quite special cigars and cigars that I've kept in their own box by themselves. And the aging of those cigars by themselves has not been up to my expectations, not to my liking. And I think that one of the things that I do a little bit differently to other people when they're aging cigars is that I do like to have a mixture of cigars all nestled in amongst each other so that you're actually getting this sort of cross-pollination. So yes, Nick is right that you have got those flavors coming off the darker cigars, but then I've also got my Connecticut's packed in with Maduros so that those flavors coming off the Maduros are going into the Connecticut. So yes, the Maduros are getting a little bit lighter in the flavor profile. And let's be honest, not everybody enjoys strong cigars. I know, for instance, David, one of our subscribers, he prefers the milder cigars and he likes the flavorsome cigars, but he doesn't like a strong cigar. And so for him, aging those darker ones definitely makes it more approachable for him to have those stronger cigars with a bit of age on them. But I really do like that whole cross-pollination thing because I never get 2 cigars the same because the what's in my humidor is constantly changing. And I think that's just part of the fun and the excitement of aging cigars as well, is that you have this ability to create your own unique cigar experience that might be just this winning thing that you get. But, you know, Omar and I had a stick. When was that? Was it last week, Omar, or no, the week before?
Yeah,
it was the Romeo and Julieta Corsica 2008 Churchill limited edition that I bought for my 40th birthday. I bought a box of them, and I can honestly, hand on heart, say that I think this year was the first year that I could say, that it was still a good stick, but it was definitely past its best. And so I've got 2 sticks left in that box. So what I'm going to do now is I'm going to find some fresh dark sticks that I acquire at some point in the next few months and put them in with it and see if I can get a bit of cross-pollination going on there, get some other flavors, leaving some younger, darker cigars to impregnate into those and see if I can get some better flavor notes out of it.
So what I think you're saying there, Damo, is once you go black, you can't go back.
That's a firm.
Well, look, that's one way of looking at it. Yeah.
Yeah. I think what this highlights is that cigar appreciation really is such an individual thing.
Yeah.
I can certainly understand where he's coming from a manufacturer's perspective. That is the perspective you want to have as a manufacturer. Yes, buy the box, smoke it now, buy another box. But I think that assumes that the range of flavor profiles you're producing are exactly the range of flavor profiles that people want to choose from. But actually, we can kind of create our own in exactly the same way as he waits a certain number of years for the tobacco to be exactly at the stage that he wants it to be at. Well, what if I want it to be at a slightly different stage? That might take another year. And that's my personal taste starting to come into it. It's the same as one person has some whiskey, one person has some bourbon, one person has some kombucha, one person has black tea. This is the individual aspect of the whole. Yeah. Milk with Baileys. Yeah. For if you've got a really sophisticated palate, obviously. And so I can understand where he's coming from, but I did detect, and this could be just me, but I thought I detected in him a slight sense of a sales pitch as he answered that question. It was the first time I felt like he shifted gears from genuine authenticity to I have to convince you of this because this is important to my sales pitch for the brand, if that makes sense.
And the other interesting thing is too that, my time in America last year, I spent a lot of time with other cigar smokers and in cigar lounges all over the place. And what I did seem to pick up a fair bit in that culture over there is that, generally speaking, they're not eclectic in their cigar smoking. Not like we are, not like, all of our subscribers are. And most of them would never have smoked anywhere near as many different cigars as the people who have been subscribing to our education packs, because they find what they like and they stick with what they like. They'll go and buy a few boxes of stuff. And if you actually follow some of the cigar groups that are based out of America, you'll see people who have stocked up on cigars, and you'll notice, this is my big haul, but you'll notice there'll be like 3 boxes of this cigar, maybe a couple of different Vitolas, and then there'll be another few boxes of another cigar. But generally speaking, they've only got maybe 4 different cigars, a few different Vitolas of each, and that's just what they do. They just stick to the same one all the time. And I think that where Nick's coming from definitely hits that type of clientele, which is, in all honesty, the largest percentage of his business in America.
It's that kind of American, it's a consumer product in America. And it's at a price point where it can be a consumer product, and they will buy by the box because a box of 20 will cost them the same as what 2 would cost us. So I think the price point being what it is here, because of our taxes and the imports and everything else, I think that really encourages us to prize each cigar more highly and to want to explore and to pay more attention to each cigar and discover what we like. Whereas I think over there, it's just a bit more of a consumer product. You smoke cigars because you like the ritual, and that's fair. I like the ritual too. But the cigar smokers that I know in America, they're smoking a cigar with their morning coffee and another one after dinner, right? And that's, it really is. And I know Omar's thinking amateurs, but for the rest of us, that's not financially viable for most Australians. And so I think in a weird way, that kind of causes us to buy them 1 or 2 at a time and to end up exploring more. But also that was the purpose of the Cigar Professor. And that's what you've done for now years, Damo, is just curate this amazing kind of collection of cigars over time where people have experienced and explored. I mean, we've had Candelas, we've had Barber Poles, we've had, every kind of wrapper from Oscuros through to your Connecticut's. We've had things from Indonesia. We've had things from Africa. We've had all kinds of things. And I think that's really what Cigar Professor has done for our subscribers that really very few cigar aficionados would actually ever do unless they were professionally tasting them for a career.
And the other thing is too, that it's interesting that when we started Cigar Professor back in 2020, realistically, there wasn't a large variety of cigars on the Australian market at that point in time. There was a smattering, if that, of some New World cigars, but everything else was just Cuban cigars. And the interesting thing was when I was in, I think, where was I? no, I was in Adelaide last year, and I found a pub that had a cigar selection that you could purchase from the pub in a little smoking area, and you could go out and have a cigar. And I was very impressed that they actually had some Atua Fuentes, they had some Perdomos, they had some Rocky Patels, and it was probably about a third of their selection that they had there were New World cigars, but still 2/3 were Cuban. But, you know, before we entered the market, I probably would have gone to that same place and might have had one or two options that were not Cuban. So it's interesting how the cigar culture in Australia has changed in the last 6 years.
Well, now we come to the really important question of the evening, which is, Omar, are you okay? Because Yasser Mahmoud has said that you've had to cut down to 4 cigars a day. Do you need an intervention? Is this a cry for help? Are you okay?
Nah, he's my cousin. He's shout out to Yasser. He's a real cool guy. He was traumatized because I was in Philly at his place and it was like minus some degrees, and I'm sitting down smoking a cigar at night till about 1, 2 a.m. He's like, this is not right. There's something really bad about it.
He didn't already know that about you?
He knew, but he did not to that extent. I'm in Philly. It's cold. It's freezing. And he's What are you doing outside? I'm smoking a cigar outside, mind you. And it's not pleasant, but I'm still smoking cigars.
Yeah. But you got to do what you got to do. You got to feed the addiction, man. You got to just suck them down.
Hey, on Nick Perdomo topic, just something really interesting. I was thinking when he said that, look, he was a bit direct and whatever, that you must smoke it, whatever. That's cool. It's very interesting what he said about, dissipating flavors. It's a very interesting comment. But I would say this across a number of rollers, such as EP Carrillo, maybe RP, La Auroras, smoking them fresh out of the box, it's just injustice, right?
Yeah.
But Perdomos, Plasencias, Davidoffs, I mean, those 3 straight come to my mind. I could just pick them straight off the box and have it. Same way and same genre, if you stick to that. After a while, cigars just not what they are. So there's like a time frame. I think you gotta acquire or you gotta smoke between that time. Connecticut have much shorter, for example.
Shorter, 100% they do. Yeah,
Maduro go longer, but
so there was a cigar that we had in one of the very early packs, and I can't remember the full name of it. It was a Robusto. It was the second edition in like a age limited rare or something. Was that a Rocky Patel ALR or something like that?
Yeah. ALR second edition. Yep.
And I remember smoking one of those early, and then you kept them, Damo. You had a bunch more and you kept them. They came out in like pack 4 or something a year later. And what a different experience that was. And I remember it very specifically because the first time around, that ALR turned really hard in the final third. It was a beautiful cigar. And then it turned savagely in a way that most cigars don't. Most cigars turn to some degree, but this turned hard in that final third. A year later, it didn't. It actually was smokable all the way through, far beyond where Americans would typically smoke. And so, I think there is something to be said for aging, but you have to be aging for your personal taste, not for the sake. It's not a given that older is better. You have to be aging for your taste. And I think, Damo, what you're talking about, where, there is oils coming out of it. He's right. At a technical level, he's absolutely right. The reason the cellophane discolors is because oils have come out. He's 100% correct. But if those are being shared between some other sticks and you're allowing the ones that are a bit too full on to moderate and the ones that are a bit mild to pick up some of that flavor profile, well, I think that can be a very good thing.
Yeah, definitely.
Interesting. They had some Cuban cigars that supposedly were very, extremely expensive, rolled in somewhere in the late 80s and 90s. So that's what, 30 something years, right? All was hitting up about 40 years.
Yeah.
Now, it was, Topher, believe me, it was like having a cardboard. There was nothing.
I could believe it. Yeah.
There's nothing left to him.
So you remember when I was in London, I sent you guys some photographs of some of the boxes that I found. So there's that little patch in London where there's 4 or 5 cigar shops in very close proximity. It's my favorite street in the whole world. Really high end male clothing, suits and shoes and all the rest of it. Beretta shotguns and rifles in a store, and then cigars everywhere. It's like it's the best corner in the whole world. And I took some photos. There were some boxes there that were 30, 40 years old, and the price tags were eye-watering. It was tens of thousands. I think, if my memory serves me correctly, the most expensive one was over 100,000 Australian dollars. It was like 60,000 pounds, something like that, for a box of cigars. And it struck me at the time, you're buying them and if you smoke them, you're doing it for the sake of being able to say that you've done it. You cannot expect that to still be at its best. I'm sorry, it's a natural product.
Yep.
100%. No doubt about that. But nonetheless, I think the ALR, for sure, it gets so better. After give it a couple of years, it gets so much better.
Yeah, 100%.
We just had a viewer make a comment, and I did forget to mention this, that tonight is the first night that we are live streaming on Rumble. Since the last show, we went up from 1 subscriber to 7. And that enabled me to click on the live stream button on Rumble so that we can actually stream onto that. As far as Truth Social is concerned, that is something that we would like to also commit to. Unfortunately, I haven't yet figured out if and how StreamYard can also go to Truth Social. I couldn't find any settings in that just yet, but rest assured that we do want to support these platforms that are more friendly. And as hostility grows on other platforms, we're basically making backup options there so that we can continue doing this.
So you can't do anything on YouTube with cigars? Nothing?
Yeah, we still can. I've received some nasty letters, emails and messages from both YouTube and Facebook, but it's just like, you're being demonetized and you no longer your channel's no longer public viewable and stuff like that. So.
Yeah, we're being hidden and suppressed on YouTube. We get away with it because we are education. We are teaching people about the techniques and the flavor profiles and how to enjoy cigars. But if we were to turn around and try and sell, we'd be gone straight away. That's obviously very, very, very much banned. Now, Ethan has found me out here. The real reason why you're not looking through my good camera is because I'm live on the Oddcast right now. And so I'm actually switching. I'm so quick, you can't even tell. I'm switching between them and I'm talking on the Oddcast and I'm coming back here. So that's actually what's really going on. That's why you're getting the second camera.
You're a man of many talents, Topher.
None of them useful, but many.
There's still a bit of sweetness in this cigar. I'm down to the business end.
I've got a bit of weirdness going on in the burn. That's been with me for a while now. It's still burning all the way around, but it's just burning kind of wonky. It is drying out. I'm finding it is, as a cigar, it is definitely drying out. The flavor profile is becoming a bit drier. I'm beginning to feel like it's just sort of pulling the moisture out of my mouth a little bit.
Yep. Still a great stick.
Still a beautiful stick.
Speaking of great stick, right at this very moment, I was thinking, I'm actually smoking a Connecticut. And it does not feel like a Connecticut. I mean, it's got so much flavor profile. Could you imagine a sun-grown and then Maduro eventually, right? Like this is flavors.
This has been always the beautiful thing about the Lot 23. It's a very different cigar to the Monte Cristo white label, but I would say it's similar in the sense that it's like a Connecticut plus.
Yeah,
it's a Connecticut halfway to being a Cameroon or a sun-grown or something with just that bit more body in it.
And look, the most incredible thing about the Lot 23s are that it's all from a single lot plantation owned by the Perdomo family. You do not find very many cigars on the market where they can say that the whole cigar, not only is it a puro, but it's a puro to a specific lot on a specific farm.
Yeah. Well, we talk about puros. We talk about it when the wrapper, the binder, and all three of the fillers have come from the same country. That's a selling feature. Oh wow, this is a puro. Let alone from the same farm. Let alone all from the exact same patch of dirt, so to speak. It's quite remarkable, and it's remarkable to think because obviously the whole point of blending 5 different tobaccos into a cigar is to take the different flavors and combine them into a homogeneous whole that is more enjoyable than they would have been on their own. To have a tobacco coming off a single lot that can hold up on its own, it doesn't need any supplementation from anywhere else, is quite a remarkable thing.
It is a remarkable thing.
So, Driver 83, hi and welcome, and thank you for joining us on Rumble, our first time streaming on that channel tonight. Tony's asking, has anyone experimented with roll your own tobacco?
I think growing your own, I think, is more to the point.
Yeah, look, just some clarification, Tony. Are we talking rolling a cigar, or are we talking the rolly tobacco that they sell in Australia? Actually, the person who would be best placed to answer a question like that would definitely be Whiskey Pete. I've actually been with Whiskey Pete, and some of the cigars that we've purchased over the years sometimes get packaged with a tobacco leaf around the cigars, or in the actual cigar box, they're nestled into tobacco leaves, and I've actually saved those leaves, and Whiskey Pete has actually rolled some cigars for us with that tobacco. And while I would say that it's not as good as a cigar that we've bought commercially, it's still been pretty darn good, but you realize that the tobacco that they're using for packaging is obviously tobacco that's not good enough to make it into a cigar, and rather than throw it out, they just use it for a bit of glitz and glamour. Okay, so rolly tobacco. So what that would end up being, Tony, would be called a short fill cigar. Now, the interesting thing with roll your own tobacco, because it's meant for cigarettes, the way they process cigarette tobacco is vastly different to the way that they actually produce cigar tobacco. So tobacco that is produced for cigarettes is picked green, and it's actually kiln dried and shredded. Whereas with cigar tobacco, what they do is they actually hang the tobacco. They pick it as it's just starting to wilt, as there's a little bit of yellowing coming into the leaf. The leaf starts to lose some of that deep, rich green chlorophyll color. And then they actually hang it until it dries. And then once it's fully dried, they rehydrate that leaf, and then they stack it in what's known as pilones, which is basically like a compost pile, but it's very, very carefully controlled. They don't want it to compost, but what they want to do is have that enzymatic fermentation take place to actually get rid of the ammonia and the nicotine out of the leaf. And so they actually have temperature probes going down into these big piles. And then if the temperature gets too hot, they unstack it and then restack it again. And then if it gets too cold, they change it. They add a bit more moisture to it to sort of trigger off that fermentation process. And then they make sure that the outer leaves go to the middle and the top goes to the bottom and the bottom to the top and the inside to the out through that whole process. And then that's how they actually ferment the tobacco. Now, what Nick, and that really piggybacks off what Nick was saying earlier in that video that we're watching, when I mentioned that they take so long to age it. Most of the cigar companies out there are fermenting their tobacco for around about 6 to 12 months. Whereas Nick, the shortest period of time they ferment tobacco is 36 months. And on their Maduros, they're doing 60 to 66 months of fermentation. That's not
5
aging.
years.
That's just fermenting. Then once it's finished fermenting, they shake it out, air it, dry it a bit, and then they pack it into bales, and then they age it for another few more years. Then they make the cigars. Then they age the cigars again. So, they've got their 12-year age cigars, which from basically the time of curing to the time that the cigar is released to the public is 12 years of fermenting, aging, and resting, which is just insane.
It's just the most extraordinary level of patience. And how you as a business can have the patience to sit on that, knowing that that's revenue. That's revenue for the business. And to resist the temptation to try and bring it forward. Let's just get it to market. And to say, no, we're going to protect the brand value. We're going to take a long-term view, and we're going to allow that to sit there for another year, another 2 years, another 3 years. I respect that so much. I tip my hat to that. It's an amazing way to run a business.
Just so you know, you don't have a hat. Well, there we go.
Fuck you say? Fuck you say?
Very
huh?
nice.
Huh? Huh?
Yes. Very, very Cuban-esque there.
It's not a Panama, but it'll have to do.
Yes.
Yeah. For now.
Well, how about we knock over the next question while we've got the last little bit of our cigar, and then maybe
Sounds
that
good. I'm close to being done, but yep, sounds good.
Just thinking
Mine is
about
done.
cigar brands outside of Perdomo, if you were to have to smoke a cigar outside of your own brand, is there any particular brand that you generally would lean towards going yourself?
Nothing in particular, but I will tell you I'm one of the few cigar makers that do, or at least admit, I smoke everybody's cigars. I don't understand how all these guys say I only smoke my own cigar. My favorite cigar is definitely Perdomo because I know what we do with it, but I smoke everyone's cigar. And if you ask me what my favorite would be, it would be no doubt any Nicaraguan cigar. But we do a lot of things that are different than some, and everybody's got their little touches and attributes that they do to make a cigar. But I couldn't tell you any one brand, but I do love Nicaraguan tobacco the best. In my personal opinion, it's the best tobacco in the world, bar none.
So given the fact that you are someone who is quite eclectic in smoking outside of your own brand, is there any particular brand or person or tobacco company outside of Perdomo that has been a significant influence in the way that you've learnt and perceived things?
No, because I learned with my father, but I have a lot of respect for a lot of guys out there in the industry, right? I was blessed. I came from generations of cigar makers. And I learned from them, and I learned from our inside people. Sarah Gonzalez, unfortunately, God rest her soul. Aristis Garcia, 98 years old, still working with the company. I learned from true masters inside. And I think that's what propelled our company to grow so quickly in a little over 3 decades.
So one of the things that has been changing around the world is obviously the attitude towards nicotine and tobacco products. Have you noticed any particular trends in different markets outside of the USA with your brand?
Well, we've seen incredible growth in most of the markets that we have, and more growth for not only because people are looking for quality products, right? Second thing is WHO, American Medical Association are all talking about the attributes of nicotine. It's like anything. You can't abuse anything. Protein is phenomenal for the body, but you can't eat 25 steaks, right? When you tell me the average guy smokes 2 cigars a month, the nicotine levels he's getting are probably too slim because nicotine helps cognizant help for the brain. It helps against prostate cancer. I mean, there are a lot of things that nicotine has great attributes to. So, we're starting to see all these different changes in the medical world, right? Where they've told us for years, this was great, now it's bad. Wheat was great for you. Bread is great for you. Pasta is great for you. It's horrible for you. Meat is terrible for you. Salt is bad for you. It's good for you now.
Yeah.
Everything is changing. And there's study after study after study that shows tobacco petals are destroying cancer cells. What's the government going to say? Tobacco kills cancer? They've been fooling us for years, and people have to be smart about it too. Anything in excess will kill you. But if you do things right, you can enjoy your life. And I really believe that cigars are one of the most enjoyable, and outside of some countries, one of the most affordable things people can savor and enjoy. And it brings people together. Let me tell you, if politicians all got together and smoked cigars, we'd have a hell of a lot better world today.
Actually, I'm glad you said that because that's actually something I've said numerous times on our show. I think if we made it mandatory that politicians, when they're sitting in the Parliament discussing legislation, that if they actually had a cigar in their hands and had to be partway through it before they open their mouth, we'd probably get a lot more sense out of the government.
100%, but some people are too dumb to figure that out. But you're 100% right.
Well, that looks like a good spot there to pause. And Omo, being our resident expert on all things body, mind, and soul related, did you have any comments that you wanted to throw in on that little bit of the video?
Yeah, couldn't agree more what Nick said. I
Mm.
primarily what he's saying is that we have changed our, you know, perception about health, tobacco, food, and everything. Over the period of like 6 decades or 10 decades, we moved on and we went back and we moved on, and a lot of that is industry driven. A lot of that is government policy, red tape driven. Like, okay, so you must do this and say this, and it becomes a common theme. But the factual information is this is a factual information. It's not an opinion thing. Tobacco or nicotine is a published. So let me say this again. Nicotine is a published cure for all brain-related illnesses, such as Alzheimer's, dementia, Parkinson, arthritis, gut-related problems. I've recorded a podcast on that. I haven't released it, but it's talking to a very, prominent person in the cigar industry in America, Big Mick. He's been to Cuba, met Castro. He's quite a prominent guy. He said at the age of 20, he had massive problem with his respiratory condition, some form of respiratory condition, right? He used to use an inhaler. He said the day he started smoking cigars, it went away, and he has not, at the age of 60, still never used inhaler after that. I'm not saying it fixes everything, right? I'm not saying it's going to fix your life up. But what I can say for bare minimal, that it is a medicine of some form. It's just like any form of medicine, because in the Western world for 300 years, the most prescribed medicine, as per NIH, was tobacco. So you can't just wipe it off. You just say, it just with 300 damn years. So what Nick said is right. I couldn't disagree with him a bit. I mean, you have to have enough, sufficient amounts of antioxidants in your body for the whole pathway of it's converting it to niacin for the nervous system, right? But if you're an unhealthy person, you live off junk, your life is not good, you got all the bad things happening, then it's going to fuck you up. But if it's not the case, you eat right food, and I think it's pretty good.
Yeah. And what we can say with confidence is that the studies that have been done on cigarette smokers who are typically, 10, 15 or more a day do not apply to most cigar smokers. Obviously, there are some cigar smokers that are just smoking constantly, but for the vast majority, those studies are not applicable. It'd be like studying the effect of soft drinks by studying people that drink 5 liters a day and then applying that to people that have one Coke twice a week. You can't say that one is going to be the same as the other.
Yeah, absolutely.
Exactly. Well, I'm right down to the business end on this cigar. It's starting to get a little bit hot on the lips. Have you finished there, Topher?
Yeah,
I've put mine down. I'm not feeling 100%. There's a couple of things going on and I'm not feeling 100%. So I just decided not to push my luck too much this time around.
Yeah, well, I think I'm pretty much at the end. Omar's finished, and I tell you what, this has definitely been an enjoyable cigar right up to the lip burning end. And interestingly enough, I did notice the last time I was in America that more people over there now are starting to smoke down past the ban than the previous time I was in America too, which I'm not sure why. I didn't make any comments or ask any questions, but it was just a little thing that I noticed that, I'd be sitting in a cigar lounge talking to people and they'd peel off the band and smoke it down. Probably not quite as much as me, but there were a few people over there that were smoking it right down as well.
Yeah.
So.
Yeah, it's an evolving thing. And, again, it just comes down to your personal enjoyment. Smoke it as far as you enjoy it. That's really the aim. The aim is to have something in your life that you enjoy, a ritual. Yes, the medicinal benefits, I believe, are real, but the ritual benefits, I think, are also very real. And it really is just one of those things. Do it for as much as you enjoy it, and then that's it.
Yeah, that's right. Exactly. And as Nick said, with everything, you can do excess of everything. It's everything at moderation and at sensible amounts. So,
indeed.
What are the sensible amounts? 10 cigars a day?
I
think
will
it's
say,
different for everybody.
Without getting ourselves banned off YouTube, I will say that if that was the Connecticut, then I'm looking forward to the sun-grown and the Maduro and seeing how the flavor boldness steps up as we go up through the range.
How's your weight challenge going at the moment?
Good. So I'm down about 10 kilos, which is good. It's
Congratulations.
coming off a little bit slower than I originally intended, but I'm no longer being strict carnivore. It just proved to be logistically challenging with kids and cooking for kids and you know, sort of the busyness of life and everything else. So I'm being pretty strict on being low carb, but I'm not being strict on just being carnivore. So it's coming off at about a half a kilo a week on average. Excuse me, something like that. Excuse me.
Well, that's exceptionally well done.
I'm winning slowly, bit by bit.
That's good. Well, I've been myself on that similar bandwagon for the last couple of weeks myself, because
good.
A few weeks ago I did a bit of a experimental drug trial to see if that would alleviate me having to go on to another round of chemo at some point in the future. And the benefits the benefits were there, but the benefits were not as great as we would have liked, and the side effects were, especially if I had stayed on it long term, greater than the benefits.
Yeah, okay.
So but one of the side effects was that I ended up gaining about 6 kilos of weight over the course of 2 weeks.
Wow.
So yes, so I'm very fortunate that I've shed most of that weight in the last 2 weeks. So
I was going to say, what was the diet? Just bags of potato chips, like for breakfast,
actually,
lunch, and dinner?
The same diet that Stewie has done, and I've done it a few times in the past as well. Basically, it's extreme calorie restriction. Basically, sticking to 500 calories a day.
Yeah, that'll do it.
Yep, it gets rid of the weight for me, but definitely running on an empty tank. I feel like most of the cars driving around Sydney at the moment.
Yeah, fair enough. Guys, I've got to call it a night. I'm struggling. I need to get to bed. I'm sorry.
Yep, that's fine. Well, thank you everybody for joining us tonight. And the last Wednesday of next month, we will be doing the second cigar in this pack, which is the sun-grown variety of the Lot 23 in a Gordito. So tune in 8 o'clock the last Wednesday of next month, and we'll see you all then.
Catch you later.